Hello, warm welcome to the programme. Really glad you can join us. We've got two top men of sport here in the studio this evening. Two guys I've known for years, top blokes they are as well. Prestigious positions they occupy and have occupied. We've got the world's #1 cricket umpire in the studio this evening. We've also got the former chairman of the Professional Football Association, who still works for the PFA, and of course he's well known in this area as a former player at Sheffield Wednesday and also at Chesterfield, who by the way have made a cracking good start to the season. Thought I'd get that in early as I welcome Ritchie Humphreys, the former PFA chairman and former Sheffield Wednesday player, and also Richard Kettleborough, two kind of Richards in the studio this evening, except that you were christened Ritchie, weren't you?
Correct, Al.
You're
Thank
not
you.
Richard,
Thank you
are
for
you?
saying that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not Richard. No,
No,
he's
this
Richard.
is just the strange thing. Yeah, he is Richard Kettleborough. Marathon man, in the case of Ritchie over here. We'll introduce that subject in a minute because both of us guys are in total awe of your recent achievement. And in Richard's case here, #1 cricket umpire in the world, test umpire. Unfortunately doesn't do tests in this country, but fortunately for you, you travel to some very exotic places. And you're Yorkshire's most capped international umpire now, having overtaken Dickie Bird. So congratulations on that as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, 149 international caps, is that right?
That's correct. To date, yeah, and still probably 20 years to go.
Power to add at the age of 45. I shall be expecting you to make a comeback to playing though, because you briefly did, and I saw you recently playing for Sheffield Collegiate second 11s as an emergency reinforcement, and it worked out quite well, didn't it?
It did at the time, but a few days later it took its toll. But
did it?
No, look, Sheffield Collegiate is the club I grew up at. I've got a lot of friends there, a lot of good memories there. I was down there on a Friday night, got asked if I could fill in on Saturday, help out, and did do. Yeah, I enjoyed it actually. It was good fun. It was a great game of cricket, but unfortunately we came out the wrong side of it.
Yeah, I only saw your innings because I had to go off to Bramall Lane to watch Sheffield United, but I did see you score 24 not out in very quick time with a 4 off your first ball as well. Yeah, hey,
yeah, absolutely. I say I enjoyed it, but it's a one-off.
Okay, a marathon man. Ritchie, is that a one-off as well?
I might do more marathons. I'm not sure if I'll do another Ironman.
Ironman, yes.
Yeah,
that's what I meant to say.
But the triathlon,
Ironman.
I'd never attempted that kind of distance before, but it was tough. It was tough, yeah.
Well, you've done this for both the Alzheimer's Society and Sheffield Children's Hospital charities.
Yeah.
We'll plug that again later so people get a chance to support you and donate. Let's tell people what this involves, because I wasn't sure what the Ironman constituted. And it's not a bog standard triathlon, this. It's like 2.4 mile swim for starters. That's a long way in water, eh?
Very long.
Richard? That is a long way in water. And then straight into a 112 mile bike ride. And then into, well, you know, straight into, as you would do, into a 26.2 mile full marathon running.
Yeah.
Easy, eh?
No, definitely not easy. When I knew I was going to kind of come to the end of my career and finish playing football, I'd always had an interest in the triathlon. A mutual friend of ours, Matt Sanderson, runs a triathlon training company in Sheffield, and it always kind of coerced me a little bit to, you know, why don't you get involved and come to swim club on a Monday night and stuff like that, because that would be the discipline out of the three where I had not great technique, struggled with the breathing over a longer distance, just because you've probably never done those distances before. And so I did a lot shorter distances. I did 2 half-iron distances in the previous year, and building up to the iron distance, as they call it, which was in June this year. So, into July. Sorry, and the training was okay. I was getting longer out on the bike, 100 miles on a weekend, and stuff like that. I unfortunately, after a holiday, got asked to play in a charity match, which obviously I wanted to play in, and really wanted to play in it. Didn't want to get injured. After half an hour, calf went, and so the unfortunate thing building up to the Ironman was I couldn't get out and do any runs. So I had to do swim bike, and only a few weeks before, 10 days before, was I able to start running again with no pain, and going into uncharted territory. Really never ran further than a half marathon. I think my training would have took me to 15, 16 miles during training. So on the day, just had to go with it and hope that the heat wouldn't impact you too much.
Yeah, the weather wasn't exactly in your favour. This took place at Bolton, didn't it, in the middle of July, in the middle of the inferno.
It did, and really, well, the distance for iron distance on the bike is 112 miles. They actually had to cut the bike to 95 miles, which in the week leading up to it, people on social media feel shortchanged. It's not an Ironman. There was a doubt whether the swim would go ahead because of the blue-green algae on the lake. And thankfully, and then quite a lot of the pros actually tweeted back and said, well, you know, have you seen the hills that they've stuck in instead of the miles? They've put some really steep hills into it, which made it a tougher bike.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but it did go ahead as planned. The other thing that was, apart from my calf, in that week leading up to it, I thought we were getting to the World Cup final.
Oh, of course.
Ironman was World Cup final day.
Yes.
And so, you know, I thought I was going to have a life choice to make.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to do the Ironman that I've trained for all winter, and people have supported me, and you know, through the tough times through winter, where you've got to get out early and get a run in and stuff like that. And people then sponsored, obviously, and it's like, well, I can't. If we get to World Cup final, I'm just going to have to miss it. Yeah. The only way I would have got to watch it if I'd have got close to the world record, which obviously wasn't going to happen.
We'll come back to this Herculean feat later and ask you a bit later in the show just how you felt closing in on the achievement with the marathon in the heat of the day. Are you tempted? As a humble half marathon runner myself, I'm not really tempted.
Richie mentioned our mutual friend a while ago, Matt Sanderson, who has asked me numerous occasions if I'd be interested in doing one.
Right, and has that been a good advert?
It's a very similar response every time, if I'm being honest.
Okay, well, your world travel's taking lots of test matches, you know, things, it must be a wonderful, privileged lifestyle, and we'll talk about those. And you were also at the centre of a ball tampering row as well, not so long ago in West Indies. We'll talk about that. But the football side of things, the season's just started. I don't know what you guys make of it here in Sheffield. It's pretty unusual that between them, the two Sheffield clubs have played 3 games, and there isn't a single point on the board as yet, which is slightly unusual. But you were at Bramall Lane on opening day, weren't you, Richie?
Yeah. I've started to go back to watch Sheffield United now. I'm not playing. My dad and take my son down. Son really loves it. He's loved the World Cup. He's liked going to the football matches, so he's really interested in it. And I thought there was nothing really in the game, and United got the goal in front. And as the game went on, as the scoreline reflects, I think Swansea just got that bit stronger, and went on to take the 3 points. I didn't see the game in midweek, but I think it's really early days, and everybody wants a good start. You don't always get that good start in football. You know, those players in that changing room, the manager, they'll have had in different ones over the years. It doesn't always reflect on how your season finishes. No,
that was a 2-1 defeat to Swansea. Very close game, as you say. Swansea came on strong at the end. Now, of course, it's no secret you're a Blade, aren't you? A boyhood Blade, even though you played for Wednesday. And I think sometimes an openness about that kind of thing can probably work in your favour, can it? You know, if people really know, or can it not?
Well, I mean, breaking the Sheffield Wednesday team at 18, having 3 years earlier been going to Bramall Lane as a supporter, and you get asked who do you support, you're from Sheffield, it's one or the other. Yeah. So you're not going to tell fibs. So and I was tremendously honoured to play for Sheffield Wednesday, being a Sheffielder, and to play for Sheffield, played against Sheffield United at Bramall Lane, managed to score at Bramall Lane as well, which is special for me. It's special for my family. Unfortunately, it was against Sheffield United, but that's the sport you're in. That's the professionalism that comes through.
Okay, Sheffield Wednesday. I know you've got opinions on this because you're a big Owls fan, Richard. You follow them from all over the globe, and you watch from here. Home to Hull City on Saturday. Will you be able to go to that?
Yeah. Just like Richie said there, I take my little lad when I'm at home. He's a massive Wednesday fan. Disappointing start to the season, I think, for both teams, but it's like Richie said, it's early days. They played 3 games between them. I think Wednesday have got a pretty good squad still, really. If they don't lose too many in this transfer window, I think they've got a good squad. if they can keep people fit, I think they can have a good season.
Yeah.
No reason why not.
Yeah, I tend to share that view. It's been deadline day today, such as it is, a bit of a non-event really. I think there was talk of Lee Evans going. In fact, there was a move proposed for Lee Evans. Bit of a shock one. Never saw this one coming. Going back to Wigan Athletic possibly. But for whatever reason, when I checked just before the programme, there's no actual explanation as to why it was off, but it was off. Wasn't completed in time, perhaps. But Sheffield Wednesday, you know, from years of being accustomed to being linked with big signings and who they're going to sign next, it's been more this time in all the financial circumstances about can you hold on to people, hasn't it, really?
Yeah, I think we've got players that clubs, certainly clubs in the Championship and Premier League will be looking at. Why wouldn't they? We've got some quality players there. I think from Wednesday's point of view at the moment, obviously under a transfer embargo which has been talked about, it's vital for me, my position, that they keep hold of these players, and if they do and they can string a few results together, there's no reason they can't. They could be in for a good season, you know. Come November, December time, see where they are.
You're talking maybe principally about Fernando Forestieri. I think the big fear of supporters was that there might be an irresistible offer for him, but as and when I checked recently, it was all quiet on that front, which is what Wednesdayites want to hear.
From a Sheffield Wednesday perspective, as a fan, he's a very important player for us. There's no doubt about that. We missed him massively last year for probably 3/4 of the season. When he's in the side, he gives us that spark. He gives that little bit of inspiration. He's a little bit of an X factor to do something in and around the box, and he excites fans. Fans like watching him. And hopefully he'll stay and hopefully have a really good season for us again.
To me, he makes the difference between a team that could compete for the top six and a team that won't. You know, if he was sold, this is only a personal opinion, I don't think they'd be in with a shout of top six, because he can turn an ordinary performance into, you know, a victory. I don't know if you've got a view on Forestieri and what difference he makes.
Just echoing what Richard said, really, you want to keep your best players. Every club will want to keep the best players. If that's happened today and everybody's, you know, the players that are contracted are still there, I agree with Richard. I think that both Sheffield clubs have shown, certainly United did last year, Wednesday did the previous seasons before, that they can have a real good go. It is a tough league, isn't it, the Championship? You know, no doubt about that. Some really big clubs who will all fancy themselves to get promoted, get to the playoffs, and you know both Sheffield clubs should want to be in that mix as well. Yeah,
there's that element, that persistent question mark, and I've raised it as well as lots of other people about lack of pace. In the way Forestieri's obviously got some, but outside of that and just the wing back areas, I'm not quite sure they're strong enough there as an attacking force. But midfield, you know, it should be strong enough. Defensively, poor at Wigan.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk, hasn't there? They've released a lot of players. A few players have moved on. From the defensive side of part of the team. Look, I think what Wednesday showed last year is that they're not afraid now to give youngsters a go. Hopefully they've got a thriving academy there now. They've obviously got some good young players coming through. They need first-team experience, and that's the only way they're going to get better, really. Mix it in with experienced players like your Forestieris, your Hoopers, your Bannons, Tom Lees, people like this. Look, I think the future's quite bright. I know other people might disagree with that, but if these young lads can get in, gain some experience, and hopefully have long careers, hopefully at Sheffield Wednesday.
Well, you go back a long way, Richie, and the productivity of Sheffield Wednesday has not compared with the club across the city, has it? Do you see that beginning to turn now?
You hope so, because you know what supporters like is people that have, you know, been in the system, maybe from 10 years old even, and been through the academy system and then progressed into the first team. That's what all the academy staff will want. The supporters will want it. You know, there's probably nothing better than, you know, a young player pulling on the team that they've been at for a long time, whether they support them or not, and they've supported them through their progression and making that step to the first team. But you always need an opportunity. Unless you have an opportunity, you'll never know if you can make it at that level. I was really thankful and a little bit lucky as well that I got my opportunity through some injuries to senior players. And when you get thrown in there, you have to try and grasp it. And ultimately, I probably couldn't sustain that level, but I was given an opportunity, and it gave me, you know, a 20-year football career, and I was really, really grateful of that. So you've got to have the opportunity. That's
been the positive from the negative for Wednesday recently, is not being able to spend, not because the chairman can't afford it, but because of FFP. and bringing these players in?
Well, I think the hand was forced a little bit, wasn't it, last season, with the vast amount of injuries to senior players that he had no choice but to play the youngsters. And I think a lot of them took their chance, to be honest with you. I think they did really well. But I think Richie's right. You need a little bit of luck. You need to be in the right place at the right time. Avoid injuries. You need help from your senior players. You need good management, because you're not always going to have good games. No. I mean, I operate at the highest end of international cricket. Not even the best players in the world don't have good games every week. No. But
what do you make of the goalkeeping situation? Because obviously it's created some interest and some headlines. Kieran Westwood, a superb few seasons there. But promoting the youth, Cameron Dawson and Joe Wildsmith clearly are 1 and 2 in the eyes of the head coach, Joss Lukai. Do you support that?
Yeah, I think Ritchie hit the nail on the head. And from a fan's perspective, there is nothing better than seeing your local lads come through and do well in your team. Yeah. And we've got 2 very good young goalkeepers there. I wouldn't like to pick who's number 1 and number 2. I think they're both very good.
Are they yet as good as Westwood? They're playing devil's advocate there. If it was strictly on that.
They've clearly not got the experience that Westwood's got, but the only way they're going to get it is by playing. And I think if you throw somebody in there, you don't just throw them in for 1 or 2 games. You give them the experience, you give them an extended run, and hopefully they can flourish in that environment.
He's on the bigger contract as well, Westwood, at a time when, if offers came in, although it doesn't appear that anything's developed today, although there is the loan window as well. So a departure somewhere on loan would appear to be favouring.
Well, I think if he's not going to play, then surely the club have got to get rid of him, really, unfortunately.
Yeah. We look out for that. As regards cricket, and it's been a sad day, you know, at Lord's really, you know, and this summer to have a day completely rained off is, you know, almost ridiculously unusual. Are you following England and fantastic first test against
India? I watched quite a bit of the first test last week. I was actually contemplating going to Lord's either today or tomorrow, but
you picked the right day if it's tomorrow, I think.
Look, India are a very good team. Don't get me wrong, they've got some fantastic players. Arguably the finest player I've ever seen in Virat Kohli. But England, you know, they're a good side. They've got some very good young, fresh players, new to Test cricket, and they did well last week. It was a great advertisement for Test match cricket.
It was, wasn't it? I mean, it knocks the one-day game T20 into a cocked hat every time for me. But then again, I'm a bit of a dinosaur when that's because I don't know if you're in the dinosaurs camp or not.
Absolutely, I think it's called Test cricket for a reason. It's a test of your physical, your mental, everything, your ability. And same for us when we go out and umpire a Test match. Every minute, you know, the cameras are on you, 46 high definition cameras at a Test match. You know, the pressure's on to get decisions right, pressure's on the players, and conditions will change all around the world. It is the absolute true test of a cricketer's ability.
Yeah, and you talk about cameras. You know, we've got enough cameras in football, and VAR coming in at the World Cup. Have you a view on that, Richie? Did you think it was positive or negative?
On the whole, I thought it was positive. I actually was lucky enough to spend a day on watching how they do it VAR testing. Really insightful. I thought the majority of the decisions, I didn't actually see the World Cup final because I was doing the Ironman. So I know that controversially that one was probably given wrong. But I think on the whole, I thought it was used really, really well. And we've got another year of testing in this country before it's probably introduced into the Premier League.
Yeah, one thing in cricket, lower down, in league cricket, there's now red and yellow cards. I believe they can now be shown in some matches in football at the bench now. Yeah. Do you think that's worked in cricket from what you've heard? And do you think it was necessary?
I think the MCC brought it in a few years ago mainly because of a lack of discipline in league cricket, lower down the levels. And I think hopefully it's had an impact. I wouldn't like to see it at international level or first class level, if I'm being honest, because I feel that we as umpires at that level have the management skills to be able to deal with things as they happen on the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You do, despite the headline. It creates more headlines, this sledging business, and it's a degree of mickey taking, isn't it?
Really? A little bit, and players do it to try and gain an advantage. It happens in football. It's happened forever. It's just more highlighted now because there's more cameras at games.
And people can lip read and pick up off the stump microphone, stuff like that. So you think it's the same as it ever was, do you?
I would say so in my opinion, yeah.
Right. No worse?
No worse.
No words. That's very interesting, and that's from the horse's mouth, from a guy who's very, very close to the action. Lots more to come in part 2. Lots more on football. Lots more on the Ironman here. We'll talk about Richard about the football weekend that's coming up. James Gregg with everything else. See you in 5. See you there.